The moment my brother-in-law slid that folder across the restaurant table toward me, I knew something was very wrong. Not the kind of wrong you can explain right away. More like the feeling you get when you walk into a room and everyone goes quiet. I looked down at the tab on the folder. It had my company's name on it. My company. The one I had spent 4 years building out of a spare bedroom, 3 maxed-out credit cards, and more sleepless nights than I could count. "Just look at it," my sister said, and she was doing that voice she always does. Soft and careful, like she's talking someone off a ledge. I didn't open the folder, not yet. I looked at my parents sitting across from me in that booth at Applebee's in Naperville. My father with his hands folded on the table like he was chairing a board meeting. My mother twisting the paper wrapper from her straw into a tight little coil. I had a feeling this dinner wasn't actually about celebrating my sister's anniversary. I should have trusted that feeling a lot sooner. Let me back up. My name is Simone. Wait, that's taken. I'm Rowan. Rowan Calloway. I'm 31 years old. I live in Chicago, and 18 months before that dinner at Applebee's, I launched a mobile app called Pocket Pantry. It's a meal planning and grocery management app designed specifically for people living with food allergies and dietary restrictions. I built it because my nephew, my sister's older son, was diagnosed with severe tree nut and sesame allergies when he was 2. And watching her try to navigate grocery shopping and meal prep with 2 kids and a full-time job was genuinely exhausting to observe from the outside. I couldn't imagine living it, so I built something to help. I had a background in UX design. I'd spent 6 years working for a mid-size software company in the Loop, climbing from junior designer to lead product designer, and I knew enough about development to be dangerous. What I didn't know, I learned. I took online courses at night. I found a developer through a friend of a friend, and we split equity. I hired a dietitian as a part-time consultant. I filed for 2 utility patents on the core features of the app. One for the cross-contamination alert system, one for the adaptive substitution engine. The patent attorney cost me $8,400 I didn't really have, but she told me to protect my IP before I launched publicly, and I listened. Pocket Pantry went live on the App Store and Google Play in March. By October, we had 47,000 active subscribers. By December, we were generating $34,000 a month in recurring revenue. I had turned down my first acquisition offer, $1.8 million from a small health tech startup that I didn't think understood the product. And I had a second conversation, scheduled with a larger company out of Austin that had reached out through our App Store page. My family was proud of me. I think. It's complicated to describe, because pride in my family often comes packaged with something else. A qualifier, a footnote. My sister, I'll call her by what I always call her, which is just my sister because that's who she is to me, is 4 years older than me. She married her husband, who I will call my brother-in-law, when I was 23. He sells commercial real estate. He is the kind of person who has a lot of opinions about industries he doesn't work in. When I told the family about Pocket Pantry at Thanksgiving 2 years ago, he spent 45 minutes explaining to me why the app market was oversaturated. Then he asked if he could see the wireframes. I said they were proprietary. He laughed like I'd made a joke. My parents are good people. I want to say that because I mean it, and because what comes later is easier to understand if you know that first. My father worked in municipal government for 31 years. My mother taught 4th grade. They are not calculating people, they are not greedy. But they have one blind spot the size of a Midwestern sky, and that blind spot is my sister. It has always been this way. My sister struggled in school where I didn't, so they hired tutors and attended every conference and celebrated every C+, like it was a Nobel Prize. My sister got into a state school on her 3rd application cycle, and they threw her a party. I got a full merit scholarship to DePaul, and my mother said, "Well, you always did things the easy way." I don't think she meant it cruelly. That almost makes it worse. None of this is a complaint. I'm telling you this because you need to understand the architecture of my family before the walls started coming down. In September, about 6 weeks before the Applebee's dinner, my sister called me. This was unusual. We text. We don't really call. And I picked up immediately thinking something was wrong with one of the kids. "I need to talk to you about something," she said. "It's about the app." She told me that she and my brother-in-law had been going through some financial difficulty. He had made some investments in a commercial property development deal that had gone sideways. They were behind on their mortgage by 2 payments. She didn't tell me the number, but she said it was significant. Then she said, "We were wondering if there was any way to bring us on as partners." Officially. Like on paper. I was quiet for a moment. I asked her what she meant by on paper. She said my brother-in-law had talked to someone. She didn't say who told him that if I added them as co-inventors on the patents, they could restructure the company with a new equity split and then use that equity as collateral for a refinancing loan. I said, "My brother-in-law wants me to add him as a co-inventor on patents he had nothing to do with inventing." She said, "When you put it that way, it sounds bad." It was bad. That's why it sounded that way. I told her I would think about it. I needed time to process, and I've learned over the years that saying no to my sister directly in the moment never goes well, she cried. I caved. We both felt terrible. That was the usual sequence. I wanted to think first. What I did instead of thinking was call my patent attorney. Her name is not important, but she is very good, and I have kept her business card on my desk since the day she filed my first application. I told her what my sister had asked. There was a pause. "You understand that adding a non-inventor to a patent application is fraud," she said. I did understand that, but I needed to hear someone else say it. She also told me something I hadn't fully considered. That if I transferred any ownership interest in the patents under financial duress, or without proper compensation, it could complicate my pending acquisition conversations. The Austin Company, they were doing due diligence on ownership chain. Any cloud on the title of the IP could kill the deal entirely. I thanked her. I went home. I did not sleep well. 2 weeks later, my mother called and asked if I was free for dinner on Saturday. She said she and Dad wanted to take me and my sister out to celebrate the anniversary. 12 years. I said of course. When I walked into the Applebee's and saw my brother-in-law already sitting in the booth next to my sister, with that folder on the table, I understood that this dinner was not about an anniversary. My father cleared his throat. He said they had all been talking as a family, and they had come to the conclusion that the best thing, the fair thing, was for me to restructure Pocket Pantry to include my sister and her husband as equal partners. "She needs this more than you do right now," my mother said. "You're young, you're single, you'll bounce back. They have a mortgage and 2 kids. I looked at my sister. She was looking at the table. "Did you know they were going to do this?" I asked her. She didn't answer right away, which was its own answer. "The folder has everything already drawn up," my brother-in-law said. "A lawyer friend of mine put it together. You'd just be signing over a 50 partnership stake in the company and reassigning the patents as jointly held. It's clean," I said. "A lawyer friend of yours drew up documents to transfer ownership of my intellectual property, and you brought them to a family anniversary dinner." "Don't be dramatic," my father said. "This is family helping family." I looked down at the folder. I thought about my developer, who owned 15% of the company, because she had helped me build it. I thought about my dietitian consultant, who had a small advisory stake. I thought about the Austin Company and their due diligence team. I thought about my patent attorney's voice on the phone. "That's fraud," I said. "I'm not signing anything tonight." My father's face changed. He said this wasn't a negotiation. It was a family decision, and he expected me to be a team player. My mother started crying quietly. My sister finally looked up and said, "We're really struggling, Rowan." I didn't know how else to ask, I said. "You could have just asked, instead of lawyering up and ambushing me at dinner." I left $40 on the table for my food and I walked out. I drove home on the 290 with my hands tight on the steering wheel and my chest feeling like something had cracked in it. Not broken exactly. Just fractured along a line that had been there a long time. I kept thinking about what my mother had said. "You'll bounce back." Like my company was a setback I needed to recover from rather than a thing I had built. When I got home, I called my attorney. I left a voicemail. Then I sat down at my kitchen table with my laptop and I started documenting everything. Every conversation. Dates, times, what was said. I had saved the text messages from my sister. I had the voicemail from when she first called about the partnership. I wrote it all down. 3 days later, my attorney called back. I told her everything. She said, "I need to ask you something, and I need you to think carefully before you answer. Is there any possibility they have accessed any of your files or documentation without your knowledge?" I said I didn't think so, but I wasn't sure. She said, "Check." I checked. I use a cloud-based system with access logging. My developer had set it up because she's meticulous about security. 2-factor authentication on everything. When I pulled the access log for the patent documentation folder, I found something that made my stomach drop. 6 weeks ago, the week before my sister called me about the partnership, there had been 3 login attempts on the account. 2 had been blocked by 2FA. The third had gotten through, from a device I didn't recognize, and that session had accessed and downloaded the patent application documents, the investor due diligence package, and the revenue projections I had prepared for the Austin company. My brother-in-law had my email address. He'd had it for years. Family stuff. But he didn't have my account password or access to my phone for the authentication code. My sister did. She had helped me set up the account 2 years earlier, back when we were still in the phase where I was excited about the app and showing her everything. She had been logged in as a collaborator briefly, while she was helping me test the allergies feature for her son. I had removed her access eventually, but I had used a password she had once seen me type. The download had come from a device registered to my brother-in-law's home office, his work computer. I called my attorney back. Then I called the non-emergency line for the Chicago Police Department. My attorney said to file the report first, then let her handle the civil side. I filed a report for unauthorized computer access under Illinois law. The Computer Fraud and Abuse Act covers it federally too, and she was already thinking about that angle. I want to be honest about something. The days that followed were not a triumphant movie montage. They were awful. My mother called me 6 times. My father sent a long email that I read once and then archived without responding to. My sister texted me at 11 p.m. on a Thursday saying she hadn't known what my brother-in-law had done, that she'd only mentioned the password to him in passing once and hadn't thought he'd actually use it, that she was sorry, that she was scared. I believed her about being scared. I wasn't sure yet about the rest. My attorney filed a cease and desist with my brother-in-law's personal email and his real estate company address. The letter documented the unauthorized access, identified the specific files downloaded, and demanded the immediate deletion of all materials and written confirmation of same. It also advised him that the matter had been referred to law enforcement and that any attempt to use, share, or disclose the information contained in those files would result in criminal and civil legal action. He called me directly from his cell at 7 in the morning 2 days after the letter was delivered. I did not answer. I texted my attorney's number to him and said all future communication should go through her. He left a voicemail on my personal phone anyway. He said he had just been trying to understand the business better. He said the download was a misunderstanding. He said he had never intended to do anything with the files. He said, at the end, that he hoped we could keep this in the family. I sent the voicemail to my attorney. The Austin company completed their due diligence the following month. I was upfront with them about the unauthorized access incident and provided the police report and my attorney's documentation as part of the disclosure. Their legal team reviewed everything and ultimately determined that the IP ownership was clean and unencumbered. My brother-in-law had downloaded the files, but had not filed anything, had not shared them with any third party, and had not taken any action that affected the validity of the patents. We closed the acquisition deal 4 months after the Applebee's dinner. I will not say the number publicly, but I will tell you that it was enough to pay off the mortgage on my parents' house, which I did anonymously, through a title company, without telling anyone, and still leave me with more than I had ever imagined having at 31. My brother-in-law was charged with 1 count of unauthorized computer access under the Illinois Computer Crime Prevention Law. His attorney negotiated a plea that included a fine, probation, and mandatory dismissal from serving as an officer in any company for 5 years. No jail time. My attorney thought we could push for more. I decided I didn't want to. My sister called me the night the plea was finalized. She said she was sorry. She said it so many times it started to sound like a timer going off. I let her talk. I didn't cry. I told her that I loved her, and I meant that, but that I needed some distance for a while, and that I would reach out when I was ready. She asked if we would ever be okay again. I said I honestly didn't know. That was the most truthful thing I could give her. My parents found out about the mortgage payoff eventually. The title company's paperwork isn't invisible forever, and my mother called me sobbing. She said she didn't deserve it. I said that wasn't really the point. My father got on the phone and was quiet for a long time, and then he said, "I think I misunderstood who you were." I said that was okay. I think he had. I think a lot of people do until they stop. I still have my apartment in Chicago. I'm still in tech, working now with the Austin company's product team on the next generation of the app. Pocket Pantry has 200,000 active subscribers. My developer became a millionaire at 29 and cried in a Chipotle parking lot when the wire cleared, and I will never tell her I know that, but I love her for it. My nephew with the allergies is 5 now. He calls the app the food helper and uses it with his kindergarten teacher to pack his lunch. That is still the best thing I have ever made, and nobody can put their name on it but me.